Hey, how's it going everyone? This is White Pointer, and in this video, I'm going to be answering the age-old question. Where exactly did the term Metroidvania come from, and who started it? Metroidvania is a term that's been part of our gaming vernacular for a long time now, used to describe a specific subgenre of games that involve platforming and combat with a heavy emphasis on exploration. The game takes place in a large interconnected world, but most of the world is initially inaccessible until the player starts acquiring upgrades and special abilities, meaning they need to backtrack to locations they previously visited in order to access new areas. These upgrades and abilities also tend to have a secondary function, such as combat or environment traversal. This means simply opening up new areas by unlocking doors with single-use keys or key-like items doesn't make a game a Metroidvania, even if it has backtracking. These games are usually 2D, but 3D varieties do exist, as I covered in my previous video. Most gamers will be aware that the term Metroidvania is a portmanteau of Metroid and Castlevania, two game series that popularised the concept. However, while Metroid games have always followed this formula, the astute of you might look back at those original Castlevania games and realise, wait a minute, those games don't follow that kind of structure at all. Pretty much all of them in the 8 and 16-bit generations were pretty linear affairs, progressing from one area to the next without much deviation. The exception to that was Castlevania 2: Simon's Quest, a game which has gained some notoriety over the years thanks to AVGN. While it experimented with a more exploratory focus and did force a lot of back and forth, it's still a bit of a stretch to really call it a Metroidvania. The first Castlevania game to really follow in Metroid's footsteps was Symphony of the Night, released on the original PlayStation in 1997. The game's producer, Koji Igarashi, actually drew more inspiration from The Legend of Zelda than he did Metroid, funnily enough. However, it was the three Game Boy Advance games that followed it, Circle of the Moon, Harmony Dissonance and Aria of Sorrow, that really solidified the design within Castlevania games. And while it's difficult to pin down exactly when the term started being used, it was certainly around this period in the early 2000s. Some sources claim that it was started by a couple of writers from OneUp.com, named Jeremy Parish and Scott Sharkey, around 2003 or so. Parish in particular is often credited for first coining the term, but he's clarified, multiple times in fact, that he did not. He says Sharkey was using it first to describe the GBA Castlevania games. So, if this wasn't the origin, what was? This sent me down a rabbit hole and put my Google skills to the ultimate test. I actually found this Amazon review for Aria of Sorrow, dated the 10th of May 2003, that actually mentions the term Metroidvania, and also Castleroid actually. I figured the author of this review, Ed Oscuro, needed to have picked up the term from somewhere else though. This couldn't have been the source. Then I found this thread on NeoGAF, where user Mighty Hedgehog found a post on Google Groups' Usenet by Richard Hutnick, dated the 12th of June 2001, where he uses the word Metroidvania as well as Castleloid. Clearly, Castleloid or Castleroid never caught on, but Metroidvania certainly did. Funnily enough, Richard himself eventually joins the conversation, explaining how it was just a way to describe the new direction the Castlevania games were going in, and said he was surprised it caught on. I tried to find any earlier examples, but it seems the trail stops here. This seems to be the earliest evidence retained on the internet of someone using the word. I did find this FAQ for Symphony of the Night by H. Sterbakov, dated the 29th of June 1997, that actually recognises the game's similarities to Metroid, but it doesn't actually use the term Metroidvania anywhere. I suppose if there was a chance anyone was using it before this point, it was probably in early IRC servers, and someone, somewhere, might have a record of it. But until that someone, somewhere, makes that hypothetical evidence public, I think it's safe to say that Richard Hutnick was probably the first to coin the phrase. So there you go, that's the origin of the term Metroidvania. Drop me a comment below and tell me what your favourite Metroidvania game is. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with my content. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.